National Performance Register. This is your edge. This is your insight. This is NPR. Let's go.
Go.
How's that?
You do the intro.
No.
Just try it.
No.
Try it, it'll be funny.
I can't
You can do it.
No.
Just try and be me.
No, I can't be you, Brad. Just me one year.
Just try it.
No, I can't.
Just give it a go.
I can't try it, Brad.
That's it.
Welcome to the NPR Performance Pod.
You did it.
Here again.
You did it. That's it. We're using that one.
Okay.
That's it. We're back.
We're back.
Feels like we were here the other day.
We were.
We didn't have a discussion topic for today.
We got lots of discussion topics. We just can't choose which one.
We can't choose.
Yeah.
But so I'm sore, Andrew, in my body. I'm sore in my body, and you are a biokineticist. And I thought I ask you stuff all the time off the camera, and you don't answer me. I guess because I'm not paying you. But now the camera's rolling. So can we get into it? Can we get into some injuries? And I think I spend so much time, my feed on my Instagram or my X is a lot of people showing what they should be doing for injuries. And I feel like it's potentially a lot of cuck.
Yeah, listen, Dr. Google, I think, has been prolific over the last while. And I think probably more recently, I think ChatGPT is starting to diagnose and assist people quite a lot in terms of injuries and illnesses. So yeah, there's a lot of good information out there, but again, I think you've got to be able to source the right information and to sift through some of the muck that's on the internet.
Well, if I chat GPT something and I see some info, I'm not going to know if it's muck or not.
Yeah, and I think that's potentially one of the risks that you face when you go onto onto some of those AI portals and you look at injuries, or you look at training methodologies or things that you should or shouldn't be doing based on injuries or where you saw. It's not always factual. It's not always correct. And very often, and I think this is widely recognized, especially on a platform like ChatGPT, is that very often the references that they quote actually don't exist.
Really?
So when you go and you look at the references, if they say that, do this exercise to recover from this type of injury, if you go and have a look at that where they source that information from, either A, it doesn't exist, or B, the article exists, but the outcome is not what they are suggesting it is.
You have a lot of brain power. Do you sit on ChatGPT to test it? Is that a hobby? Because if I was super smart like you, I'd be going, what is the best thing to do pre-workout for my rotator cuff?
Yeah.
And seeing,
I think Brad, it's one of the aspects that I think you struggle with as a practitioner, as a professional. And I'm not only talking about biokinetics. I think from a training perspective, to a rehabilitation, to a physiotherapist, to a doctor, possibly even into other professions as well. You've got to, at some point, you've got to work out how it is that you're going to work. And so what I prefer to do is I prefer to go to the source. And when I say the source, for me, that's scientific journals, it's data, that's information that I know has been verified through various journals.
So you're not using ChatGPT for an answer. It can give you sources for you to go find the correct information.
No, not at all. In fact, what I would rather do with ChatGPT is I go and find the sources, and I put those sources and I store those as files in ChatGPT, and then I'll ask ChatGPT to provide me with a summary.
Ooh, okay.
So that I can then interpret the summary. Because again, remember, whether you're training somebody or rehabilitating somebody, context is very important. And for me, in what I do, it's every injury is different. Everybody responds differently. Your sore shoulder is going to respond differently to exercises. It's going to have different forms. You're going to have different types of pain in different areas at different times in the day. So it's not a one size fits all. And everybody that comes to see me, in terms of what we do, and again, that holds true for training. It's got to be bespoke. It's got to be absolutely unique to what your context is, what your injury is, what your set of circumstances are. And I often joke with patients, I say to them, well, I wish I had a drawer over here that you could just take out, and that's your shoulder rehabilitation that you should be doing. If that was the case, number one, I'd be bored stiff because, not everybody's going to respond the same, but then every single person that you see, you're going to be treating in exactly the same way. Um,
So you deal with, I mean, yours are obviously very sport specific. I know you got a lot of water polo, shoulder injuries. Today I just want to stick in the realm of shoulder injuries because my shoulder's sore.
okay.
My shoulder's sore because of my performing. So for those of you who don't know, I'm also a performer and I do lifts and I lift humans above my head and I throw them and I catch them. So I'm sore for that reason. But let's pretend that's a sport and cricket's a sport and water polo is a sport. Let's just go for the average person watching this because most people watching this would be exercising in the gym in some shape or form. And when I'm at the gym, I have a personal trainer. He's amazing. And I obviously get to chat to all his clients and I see other people there. And most people will be going, my shoulders are sore.
Hmm.
And everyone's, let's just go through it. These,
Hmm.
these, these, these.
Hmm.
Look at your face.
Yeah. Look,
So I guess, okay. I'm
you can-
Andrew. Hang on.
Brad, I can either feed you for a day or I can teach you how to fish. And I think the problem that I've got with some of those exercises that you've mentioned is that it doesn't matter who you go to, but 9 times out of 10, you're going to get given the same set of exercises for any shoulder injury that you have.
Yes,
To try
okay.
and make your shoulder better. One of the problems that I have with those particular exercises is that we say that when you're doing this, I'm creating shoulder stability. But the muscles that stabilize your shoulder don't do this.
Yes.
So therefore, you're not actually creating shoulder stability. You're creating probably a better ratio of muscles that internally rotate and externally rotate your shoulder. So again, even from professional perspective, there's a lot of misunderstanding about what are those muscles that control the shoulder joint, what controls stability, etc., etc. But to come back to the point, and it doesn't necessarily matter what sport you play or even if you're active, but anytime somebody wants to go to the gym or start participating in physical activity, to me, the crux is you need to be evaluated.
Yes.
You need to be assessed. And again,
It always comes back to assessment.
well, it does, because again, if you want me to train you, to rehabilitate you, to make you a better person, to make your shoulders stronger, or to develop you however you want to develop, I've got to know what your starting point is. Because if I don't know what your starting point is, well, then how do I quantify how you're going to improve, firstly, to give you those short-term and long-term goals as to, okay, we need to get 5% stronger by this date or 10% stronger, because that also is going to influence me. But probably more importantly for me is that assessment determines what that process is and what those exercises should be based on what you require. So if I don't assess you, I'm going to then literally go to that folder again. I'm going to say, well, people that go to gym generally have weaker this, and this, and I'm going to hand that and I'm going to give that to you. And I'm going to get 40% of it right, but I'm not going to get 60% of it right. So again, to me, the emphasis here is on assessment, and assessment can be objective. So like we do with NPR, we're trying to create objective information, objective normative data. And some of it, especially in sort of what I do, is subjective. So you've still got tests that are determining that, but it's more what I feel. And we've got scales in Biokinetics. We have scales, RPE scale, a Borg scale, and those scales are giving you some sort of, they're trying to objectify and give you a number. So if I move your hand around and I say, Brad, tell me what the pain is that you feel when I do this movement, and I'll say, I want you to rate it from 1 to 5. You'll say, okay, that's a 3. And the interesting thing about those sort of scales is that 3, you will consistently have a 3 as that level. My 3 will be a different level to you, but mine will consistently be the 3 for me. So I would then note that down. Or if I'm looking at resistance, I can then say, well, what resistance do I feel here? And when I'm moving the joint or moving the muscle, I can say, this is the level at which I feel at. Or I can get a goniometer, which is a lovely little device that measures the angles and that sort of thing. Or I can get a tensiometer and I can start measuring force. So there are ways of objectifying it.
So the average person at the gym, if they're feeling pain, they should go get assessed. Is that what you're saying? Go and...
The average person at the gym, when you join a gym, you should be evaluated from top to toe. And that's the thing that amazes me.
It's not.
That I don't think it's compulsory. And I think what the gyms do these days is they clear themselves from a medical legal perspective. So what they do is they want to make sure that Brad's going to go to the gym. He's not going to die of a heart attack. He doesn't have diabetes,
Yes.
high cholesterol, anything like that. But apart from that, they don't really want to know too much about you. I haven't been to a gym, to join a gym for years, so I stand corrected. But as far as I know,
No.
it's not a compulsory aspect to have a fitness test and to have some trainer induct you into the gym, or even to show you around the gym to make sure that you know what you're doing. I don't know if that's a...
I have a good question. So I need to do my. So I've recently joined Discovery, and I need to do that Discovery test. And I was actually going to book my test, and on the list there was Andrew Gray.
Hmm.
You're still doing that?
Are we asked to do?
So is that sort of what this is? But I know you don't. It's not compulsory. It's just if you want points, essentially. What is that test? What do I do in that test?
Okay, but
Can we do
remember,
it?
we can do this.
Should we do it? Can we film it? Is that legal?
Well,
I have to put myself out
I'd
there.
have to get your permission.
Oh. I'm fine with it.
Okay, we might need to check it. But what you must remember is that Discovery, their model in terms of healthy lifestyle and living is around behavioral change. So what Discovery do is they reward you for the right behaviors.
Yes.
So that's why you get so many points in a week, and if you exercise, you get 10,000 steps or 5,000 steps. Those are behaviors which have been shown scientifically to improve health. And in the South African context, they've looked at the risk factors and what are the biggest risk factors that affect South Africa, and also what are those factors that cost Discovery the most, and they will then reward you for doing those things by giving you more points in those avenues. And I know they reward people for going to gym, and I think there's something on the cards around Discovery because people just swipe your cards, but you can swipe your card and go for a coffee, or you can swipe your card and go and sit in the lounge. Whereas what they're looking to do, which is why you get more points now when you activate your heart rate, and you start managing heart rates. So Discovery is doing that. So when you look at their fitness test is around mobility and cardiovascular, because they're identifying, or they're suggesting that a lack of mobility in various parts of your body plays quite a significant impact into your longevity and the cost. I would imagine it'd have to be the cost related to injuries to things like your lower back, your hips, your shoulders, etc., etc. And then there's a cardiovascular component, which there will always be a cardiovascular component.
So I tore my hamstring in May. I don't know if you remember. It was horrible. Brad,
hold on. So we've got a hamstring problem and we've got a shoulder problem.
I'm broken. I need to see you. I'm in pain. But I've been avoiding my Discovery test because I don't even know what it is, and I can't find what the tests actually are. And I don't want to get on a treadmill, and then after like 4 minutes, my hamstring starts burning. We spoke about that. What is the test? What are the tests?
You can do it on a treadmill, but you also do it on a bicycle, and you can request one or the other.
Okay, what's the treadmill? How long? How fast?
No, I'm not going to tell you that.
Why?
No, I'm not.
Are you not allowed to know that? Is it like
you are allowed to know that, but I think you just need to pitch up.
Okay.
But you would not be limited by your hamstring at all.
Okay.
And
because I'm fit, but my hamstring hurts.
Yeah. And the interesting thing about the Discovery test, I don't know this as a certainty, but there's an FMS assessment, which is functional motor screening, or movement screening, should I say. And what they do is they've got 9 tests that evaluate various parts, various movements in your body, and then they grade you according to what your mobility is like. So the tests that Discovery use are similar to those. They just use their own sort of algorithm to work out where you sit in that as a scenario. So they're using science. They've just taken a 9 topic test and they've made it into 3 or 4 topic tests just to look at you from that perspective. And if you look at Discovery over the last 15 or 20 years, the fitness test has changed considerably. So they've moved away from things like body composition and body fat, and now they measure height and weight because they want to get a BMI indicator because that's an indicator of obesity or not, or health. But I think we're digressing. We're digressing away from your shoulder injury. So
okay, wait, just before we digress back to shoulders, should we do it next week? Should we just do it?
What's that? Your test?
The test.
Yeah, we can do it.
Where do we do it? Here or at your...
No, we can do it. We just do it at the practice. We have to do it at the practice because there's equipment that I need.
At your practice, eh?
Yeah.
Okay, next week.
Next week.
So the next episode people see will be me...
You doing the test.
Potentially making an ass of myself in front of all our millions of subscribers.
Yeah. And then
Okay.
also seeing how limited your hamstring is or potentially how injured your shoulder is.
No, I think my shoulders are fine for now, but I know they're going to get injured because I'm going to start training for a new show soon. So I'm in cuck. Okay, back to the shoulders. So that these people have some information to take home, get screened,
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
Get screened.
Get
Okay.
assessed, get screened, get a professional person to evaluate you. You know, I mean, the amazing thing to me, and I use this example, and I probably shouldn't, but you know, I'm fortunate enough to own a house. But if my toilet breaks, I don't start, digging around in the back end of the toilet, trying to dig things around. I got to get somebody in that knows what they're doing. Same with electricity. I don't suddenly start going and flicking switches on the DV board. So, and it's your body, for goodness sake, and you only get one of these. So, let a professional person just have a look. That 2, 3, 4, $500 is not gonna. It'll be well worth it in the end because to me, the huge amount of injuries that take place across the board in the gym is because of an incorrect exercise selection.
Yes.
And then it's probably an incorrect weight selection in that exercise.
So there was one time when I came to you with a shoulder injury from a show, and I just asked you here in the office, and you blew my mind, and it opened my mind in a big way because I came to you and I was like, what do I do? And you started pressing my biceps like that. And you told me that it was actually my bicep that was pulling my shoulder. And that opened my brain to go, if your shoulder's sore, doesn't mean your shoulder's the problem. So for someone who's in the gym, if they've got a sore shoulder, as far as I know, correct me if I'm wrong, it could be from your lats. You could have heard what connects to your shoulder, your biceps, your lats, your chest.
Well, okay, so a quick anatomy lesson when you talk about the shoulder. So if I want to put my hand up
Yes.
in the air like that, you need movement from 3 particular joints. So it's not just your arm joint, or we call it your glenohumeral joint. You need movement from your scapulothoracic joint, so that's the shoulder blade, from your glenohumeral joint, your arm, and then from your AC joint.
Okay.
Or your collarbone. So when I put my hand up in class, or when I'm lifting a weight above my head, or I'm lifting my hand up, you need this sort of this movement pattern between all 3 of these to allow you to do that. If for instance we cut a nerve and we didn't allow your shoulder blade to move, you'd only lift your hand up to about 80, 90 degrees, because the shoulder blade needs to move in order to allow the joint space to open up to allow your hand to move. So when you talk about the shoulder, it's a lot more complicated than something like the knee. The knee's quite a dwarf joint. It does bend and straighten.
Okay.
Your shoulder flexes, it extends, it rotates, it adducts, and your shoulder needs a much greater degree of freedom, so a much greater degree of movement, which is why it's a joint that's much easier injured, if that's the right term, if you understand.
Because there's more to it. There's more.
And so what we see generally in gym, and this is for the people that come to me over the last 25 years, is that number one, the biggest risk of them getting injured is when they do exercises that are above their head.
Really?
So anytime they're doing, and it's particularly with a barbell, above
Shoulder
their head.
presses.
So shoulder press, if you're doing military press, barbell press, particularly machines, because again, what a machine does is that it controls, it automatically determines the range of movement that you've got to get into.
Machine shoulder presses have always felt weird for me.
And you see most people, if you did that with your arm and you lifted your hand like that, if you're going to do a shoulder press, you've got to have enough movement to get your hand past the vertical, if you know what I mean. If you can't get your hand past the vertical, when you do the shoulder press, what you're going to do is you're going to extend your head forward and you're going to almost shunt your shoulder forward. Now, in the joint, what you're doing is you're just pressing it forward, and that's then going to give you impingement, which is the injuries that take place.
So overhead shoulder presses, are you saying don't use the machines? Are you saying go light? What's some advice that from your brain?
All I'm saying is that if there was a list of 3 or 4 exercises that I would say these are the exercises that give people the highest risk in a gym environment, a military shoulder press would be probably the first one.
There's our clip for the day.
Okay, that would be the first one. You could make it better by using a dumbbell, because in a dumbbell you decide the range that you've got, and you also don't have to get it behind your head. So those would be the 2. That would be the one exercise that I would tell people do not do that. The second thing would be to have a general rule is just ease into exercises above your head. Don't go there immediately and start lifting weights
with
throwing
pushes, not pulls.
Not necessarily with with pushes. Yeah. So like a kettlebell, one arm, lift. be very, very careful, because the amount of movement, the movement pattern that you need and the control that you need when you lift your hand up is excessive. It's a lot. And we don't, we don't climb trees anymore. We don't lift our hands up above our heads as much as we may have done 10, 50, 100 years ago. So in moving it with a heavy weight, you're putting yourself at risk.
There's a guy on Instagram. I don't know if you have seen his stuff. I'd have to show you, and my phone's busy filming. But he's all about that movement in the gym is not realistic to how we move in real life. So he's more about like more functional movement. Do you think there's any truth to that? So he goes like, where are you ever going to use the movement of just this standing squat? He's like, there are better ways to do it in a more movement-centric way. Do you believe that? Is that
Yeah. I mean, I think that's probably a whole nother conversation on its own, but 100%. So in anything that I do in my practice, and even for you, you're not lifting a static weight above your head when you perform and when you dance. You're lifting a human being, and that human being has to be moved through a range of movements. So for you to put your arm in one position and to lift a weight up and down, our bodies, from a science perspective, there's this concept called specificity. So your body specifically gets strong in that range doing that particular movement, whereas you're not lifting somebody straight up and straight down. You're generally going to be catching somebody and then lifting them up, or in movement you're going to be controlling them. That's a totally different mechanism.
I don't know how to train for what we do.
And it's very difficult, you see, and that's where you've got to get to a point where you've got to be a little bit more creative in your gym work. And the gym work can create a basis, it can create a foundation. And we don't only see this in you, we see this in all our sports across the globe, specifically in South Africa. And I think we've touched on this before, is that especially in sports like rugby, there's such a huge emphasis on getting into the gym. But the training that we do in the gym is really crappy, because it is not functional.
It's not what you're doing on the field.
And I'll give you a prime example. Everybody in the gym, all our sports people go in and they squat. They squat heels down or heels on a raise, but they squat. But there's nowhere in any sport event that you're doing with both feet, unless you're a prop, unless you're pushing in a scrum. But even then, you're not feet flat on the ground, your heels are up in the air. So what I always challenge people to do is to say, right, if you want to try and lift 100 kilos like that with your feet on the ground, lift your heels up and try and lift 100 kilos.
On your toes?
You can't, because that's what you do when you take off. You take off your explosive movement. The power movement comes when your heels off the ground. But we don't practice that. So again, that specificity principle comes in, and you say, well, how much transfer is that from what I'm doing into the gym to what I'm doing there? And I'll tell you, there's very little. Very, very little. The machine work for you as well, the machine work, if you're in a machine and you're pushing straight up and down, the only muscle that's working is the active muscle. The muscle that's actually doing the movement. But in reality, if you're pushing up, you need muscles to control, to stabilize the joint, which again is why people get injured, is because those muscles, if you're doing a lot of machine work in gym, you don't train those stabilizing muscles. So when you do stuff in the real world outside, you need those muscles aren't used to stabilizing the joint. So you only get a muscle that works in the movement.
Yeah. How do we get that knowledge out there? I mean, when you said you haven't been to the gym in forever. They are just people squatting and bench pressing.
Yeah. And it's wonderful. Because I benefit from that. You must understand, the more people that go to gym, the more people that are training correctly,
the more business you have.
But again, Brad, I think that information is out there. And again, I would encourage everybody just to go to a professional. Go and get to see somebody that can then say, right, and that professional needs to evaluate. You need to have data. You go to your doctor and they're going to measure your blood pressure and your heart rate. And that stuff starts to play an impact, because you start to see improvements or you start to see decrements in your health or your performance. And it's the same thing goes true. The same thing with your physical ability. You see positives and you see negatives. And where you're improving, you need to either say, right, I want to continue to improve in that, or you say, this has improved, but this aspect of me hasn't improved. So then you need to focus more on that. And again, that's what we do. So when I get individuals that get injured at the gym, what I do, the first thing I ask them to do is I say, right, just write down your training program. And when they write down their training program, the very first thing I do is I count the number of exercises that will work their chest muscles, the one that work their back muscles. And then you times that by the sets and the reps and the weight. And you come up with sort of some variation of load in terms of how much work am I doing pushing into that phase versus how much work am I doing pulling away. Because remember, in your shoulder, you've got balance. There needs to be this dynamic balance. a 3-2. 3-2. So you're allowed to be stronger in your chest than you are in your upper back muscles, but that ratio is 3-2. So if I look at your training program, and this is the problem that we find, it's because all the youngsters, what am I doing? I'm doing bench press. I'm doing bench press, then I'm doing flies, then I'm doing push-ups, then I'm doing doing every single, they're doing 6 or 7 chest exercises, but I'm doing 2 upper back exercises. Well, what's the net result? The net result is you're going to look like this.
And you see that a lot.
And you see that a lot. And when you start looking like that, what you're doing in the joint is you're forcing the glenohumeral joint or the humerus forward in the joints. Every time you lift your arm, there's a greater chance that you're going to get this impingement.
Is that also with the bench press? If you
Yeah.
are forward, that causes a lot of issues.
Yeah. So there's some very simple. So for those people out there, you can self-manage this. You're just looking at data, and it's not data that no one can collect. But go and look.
Always comes back to data.
Well, it does, and it's also being able to interpret the data. That's data.
Whatever
The
you
information,
feel,
the info. So yeah, to me, it's not hard. But you just got to start looking at what. And the way we see it at the moment is that so many people are going to gym using other people's programs or just using information that they gain off
YouTube or
YouTube or Instagram and that. And when I give talks at conferences and that, I often ask the people to go get their phones out, the audience to get their phones, and I say, just tell me who are the people that you follow in the fitness industry. And then when you go and look at their backgrounds, it gives you a very good indication of the types of programs that they're going to be given. Because people nowadays are so influenced by seeing that person who's
Hugh Jackman's workout.
basically a
Wolverine
professional athlete, and that's what he looks like. And then you get a 13 or 14-year-old kid that looks at that and says, oh, I want to do that. But they don't have anywhere near the same structure, bone structure, muscle structure, anything. And then we wonder why they're getting injured.
Yeah.
There's no surprise for me.
That's very interesting. Okay, Andrew, we've got to wrap up. But before we do, be my ChatGPT, or be everyone's ChatGPT from your point of view. Okay. Andrew, please give me 3 things that I can do pre-gym to make my gym safer regarding my shoulder. Warm-up wise.
Warm-up wise?
Yeah. So I get there before I start working out.
Okay, so the first thing is you're going to warm up. So
Okay.
that's already probably the first thing that
Which I think people don't take seriously.
No, they don't. So, but also you can't warm up on a treadmill.
No.
You can warm up if you're going to do a shoulder routine, then warm up your shoulders. So you can get on a cross trainer, you can get a rower, you can get on an elliptical if you want to, but you've got to be able to move.
Finally, use this machine that no one uses.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that would be the first thing. The second thing that I do is I would try and do some activation exercises. And when I say activation, I'll try and get your shoulder blades to start moving. And that's relatively simple. You get down onto all fours, you lift your knees just a couple of inches off the ground, and with straight arms, you just allow your shoulder blades, almost like you're trying to move your chest through your shoulders. And you do that 10 times slowly. And chances are you're going to start shaking.
Yes.
And you realize that your shoulder blades lift off your back. So I would do that as a warm-up.
Okay. Number 2.
Do that as an activation. So the warm-up is the warm-up, and then the activation, I'll do that exercise. You could add other exercises to it. But you're wanting to try and activate the muscles that will stabilize your shoulder more than
in your
anything
workout.
else. That does not stabilize your shoulder.
Yeah.
That's a mover. You can do that, but it's not going to stabilize your shoulder. So when you are doing a bench press, or you're doing a shoulder workout, generally what you're going to do, anytime you push a weight, you're going to be pushing through your shoulder blade.
Yes.
And if your shoulder blade's not working, 9 times out of 10, it's going to start moving around. And it's going to start winging, and that's when you then run into issues and get injured.
Okay, that's 2. What's the third one?
That's 2. The third one, again, I would go down onto all fours, and I would just slowly go forward and backwards. So it's almost like in a plank position.
Forward and back. This
and then
way.
you're sort of gliding slowly forward, slowly back, slowly forward, slowly back. And you just have to do 4 or 5. And then you do that between sets as well if you want to.
Okay, cool. Next ChatGPT question. Give me, you've already given one, so let's do another one. Give me the second most overrated shoulder exercise that you would go, no, don't do that. Because you gave the first one, which was machine presses. What's the second one?
The one that's going to injure people the most.
Yeah. That people who are concerned about their shoulders can avoid.
Probably something like a clean and press.
Oh, like the...
Or a barbell press, even in front of head. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Next one. What is the best shoulder exercise?
So
That hits everything, I guess. So I guess less isolated. In terms of not getting injured, I want to make sure that the back, front, like what would you?
yeah, I wouldn't say there's one exercise.
There's not one.
I would actually say if you want stronger shoulders, box.
Really?
Box.
Because it's constant.
Because what happens is you never see a boxer with poor posture, and boxers have incredibly strong upper backs. So their thoracic cage at the back is really strong. And funny enough, that sets the tone for how strong your shoulders can be.
Your back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Amazing. We have to end. We can't. That's another half an hour episode. We can just keep going. Okay. So next time,
We'll test you.
let's do it.
We will test you.
It is a lot of pressure for me. I feel like I'm going to need to show up because I'm going to expose myself to all these people.
Well, we can just take still pictures, Brad. We don't have to show video.
We are filming it. I'm going to go start training. Okay. Thank you very much for watching. What awesome information. If you do like what you watched, please click like and subscribe. It helps us a lot. We have so many views and then a lot less subscribers. And that's one of the problems that's happening with YouTube is people are watching without subscribing. And if you liked it, it helps just so much. Andrew, thank you.
Brad.
Yeah, I want to just carry on talking, but let's just wrap it up. Have a beautiful day, everybody. Goodbye.
Thanks, folks. Thanks very much.
Nice.